Hey, what is going on, everybody? You know what it is. It's Friday, so that means another episode of the Millenniyell with Billy and Mel. What's going on, guys?
I wish I
Hopefully
could
you're
do.
doing a good day.
I wish I could do my thing here.
Yeah, we
too.
don't recommend that driving.
Guys, I am
So,
on the road. Get it on the road. We have a special guest, but
yes.
I wish I could. I am living the dangerous life. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna be home in like a couple minutes. But I had one of the best client meetings of my life. And
That's
I'm sorry
awesome.
it ran late, guys, but I just got a really great new client. It's a monthly contract that I've been working on for a while. So I'm
That's
excited.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've been working on this for a couple months now, getting some monthly subs. So I'm sorry, everybody who's listening to the rumbling.
Well, I feel like we're a real news show now. Like you're out there on the beat, right? You're getting the real news.
This is great. This is live, guys. Like the last coverage on.
Now let's take it to Mel on the street. What do you got for us, Mel?
Trinidad Avenue, Zoo America, right here in the back. You will see the bear.
Well, we're excited today, guys. This is a really like epic episode because I mean, one of the people that we have on today has been on the show, has actually been a co-host before. So we're really excited to bring her back, but we're bringing somebody along with her. Right. And I don't want to announce it quite yet. Right. But this is going to be really epic. So it's going to be the first time we've had 4 people on the podcast. So we're going to see how this thing goes. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
This is new.
I know. New and improved. But before we bring them on, guys, if you are jumping on the live today, make sure you comment who you are, where you're coming in from. We'd love to give you a shout out. Also, if you guys are going to be tuning into the show, make sure you comment, ask questions, stuff like that. Our guests are here to answer some questions for you, especially because of what they do. They're near and dear friends to our heart, but I'll give you a little snippet on my week so far. It's just been kind of easygoing. Nothing crazy to really report. We are going to the beach here soon, so we're excited about that to go to go partake in that. So, but yeah, I mean, you already told us your big news, so that's
this is fantastic. I have been putting I'm super pumped. And my other big news, I shared a lot this week on the Millenniyell videos. Some of the things that I've shared with Billy behind the scenes and some.
Uh-oh. Do we lose the signal? Maybe. And the joys of doing live video.
Yeah. Yes, it's okay. I put it all out there. I decided to just put it all out there. And I am really excited because I have had so many people in the last couple of weeks, especially, reach out to me from some of my posts and my quotes and things that I'm posting. And I had a lot of people text me this morning and say, you did it. Like you did the video, like you did it. Like I was saying I was going to put this out and share all this. And they were like, good for you. We're so proud of you that you went and actually did it. So
that's awesome. I watched it. It was amazing, guys. If you haven't watched it, go to our page, the Millenniyell. You can see it there. But I think while you're getting situated and stuff like that,
I'm going to hop off, guys.
And she'll be back. But that gives me a great opportunity to
introduce.
Yeah, I'll introduce them. And but yeah, that gives me a great opportunity to introduce our guest. They're near and dear friends to my heart, and so we're going to be bringing up Kenny and Nell. They're going to be sharing the Kenny and Nell story, and so they are travel vloggers turned business owners. Now radio personalities. Kenny and Nell are on a mission to experience the world and share and experiences with you, whether it's through the lens or the microphone. They had started their travel YouTube channel, Kenny and Nell in 2019, just before the pandemic, which is always a good time to start a business, right? Helped spawn their business, enTICEing Media, which focuses on video and podcast production. And since then, they began hosting a travel variety show called On the Road with Kenny and Nell on a brand new online station, Sandcastle Radio. Living life outside your comfort zone is something they do. They're both passionate about and hope to inspire others to do the same through their experiences. And that's the title of the show today, Living Outside Your Comfort Zone with Kenny and Nell. So I'm going to bring up both of them now. Look at that. We got the whole screen full. I feel like this is the Brady Bunch or something like that.
I was just going to say something like that.
This has never been done before, guys.
Here's the story.
Yeah, you should have had the Brady Bunch jingle playing, cued, ready to go.
Next time we will do that. So, guys, I'm so excited for this. Like, I've been thinking about this all week, like this conversation. So
yeah, we're pretty excited too. Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you having us on. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. And like I said, it's gonna be awesome. So I think first things first, just like introduce yourselves, because like I know who you are, some of our viewers know who you are, but there might be somebody that just happens to not know. I don't know how this would happen, but they don't know who you are. So go ahead, let us know who you are.
Go ahead.
Kenny, I'm going to let you take this one over.
No.
Oh, look at this.
You know all about me. People can't get rid of me. I'm going to let you go.
No. Well, I mean, who I am. So personally, I'm an avid traveler, love traveling. And as Billy said in the opening, that's what got us started with our business, our YouTube travel channel, which would eventually spawned into a radio show. But yeah, and I didn't grow up traveling. We really didn't go anywhere. Like, we would go to the beach maybe once in a while. But I mean, that was completely it. And, it was one trip that did it for me. Ended up on the island of St. Thomas and saw those blue waters for the first time. And I've been hooked on traveling ever since. I got really into travel hacking, credit card points and miles and things like that. So that's a big passion of mine. But I just love spending hours on my laptop researching flights and looking for the best deals, and that's my passion in this. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it. I love that. What
so,
about you now?
I will introduce myself. You've seen me a couple of times here on the Millenniyell. I'm Nell Tice, one half of Kenny and Nell, one half of On the Road with Kenny and Nell. I am a not CEO. Gosh, if I was a CEO, I might be in a little bit of a different position. I was a COO turned entrepreneur as of January 1st, 2022, with our business, enTICEing Media. And we've been growing our video and podcast production business ever since. And I am also an avid traveler. I grew up traveling, unlike my partner here, Kenneth. And it was a part of my daily life, really. My dad worked in California and we lived in Maryland. So he flew out every Monday and came back every Friday. So travel has always been a part of my blood. I grew up wanting to be a meteorologist on the Weather Channel, and, that didn't quite pan out. But being able to do what I'm doing now is like a passion that I didn't really see behind all of that. So I'm really thrilled to be doing that. And as Mel knows well, she is my Catonsville sister. So we were both both from Maryland.
But you learned on the show, if I'm correct, right?
I did.
You learned that on the podcast. So
yeah, the first episode that I was on, I mentioned Catonsville, and she was like, "Yeah, me too." And I was like, "Stop."
I was like, "Did I think I said? Did that just become a podcast?"
Absolutely did.
We had so much fun with that. We did do one. Yeah, we did a whole episode. And Mel, I need to have you on my podcast too.
Yes, I'm in.
Yeah,
I love it. Listen, now, Kenny, I'm not gonna let you off the hook that early, like in this podcast. Like, I'm gonna call the elephant out in the room here, right? You're surrounded on this screen by millennials, and you yourself, sir, are not a millennial.
No, no, I'm not. I'm older. I am older than everyone here. So I am 45.
Older than everyone combined.
So
That's not true. If that were the case, I look very young for my age.
Yeah,
Right. That's great.
No,
I
but
love
yes,
it.
I am 45. So yes, I am the elder of this group.
Yeah, so I guess you're the one that's going to be responsible for keeping this, this train running on the tracks, right?
I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah. No, I love that. So I think I definitely want to talk about travel and stuff like that with you guys. But I remember when we were just kind of talking about bringing you on, I definitely want to talk because one of the topics that we talked about here on the Millenniyell is obviously millennials love to travel, so we will talk about that. But the other thing that we want to talk about here on this show is the difference between generations, right? How we bridge the gap, those types of things. And I feel like there's not a better set of people to have on than you guys because you are in different generations and you happen to be married, so it's just an interesting, I don't want to call it an experiment, but I just like just an interesting thing, right? Like an interesting dynamic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dynamic.
It is an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. So I guess like let's just start there. So what is it like? Because like I said, we grew up differently in some instances, and there's a lot of things that we had the same kind of growing up and stuff like that. But so what is it like to be married to a different generation?
So I will say the biggest thing that I noticed, the biggest difference is our taste in music. So Kenny grew up in an era where like 90s rap
Oh yeah,
was
it's
a big
fantastic.
deal. And 90s
I made that
featuring-
post. I remember
Yeah,
that.
it's fantastic.
And a lot of the artists that he would listen to, I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I kind of remember that." Or my parents shielded me from that because I was too young. And, but it's crazy because we're only 7 years apart, right? I'm 38. He's 45. And we're literally the difference between me being required to type papers in high school and him still writing by hand on stone. So
On stone.
I'm joking. So
I didn't have a chisel.
you weren't required to type them. You could still handwrite them, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yes.
I mean, that to me is crazy. Like, that's a big difference.
It's also a big difference too. Like you probably got to write not like Kenny probably had to write in cursive, whereas we kind of had the choice.
Yeah. That was something like we had to like learn and like exercise and do for sure.
Yeah. I remember exercising that in elementary school, which would make sense because you graduated high school in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1996, I was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
See, it's crazy to think about that, but like now that, like you said, the age difference it's different,
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't
But
matter.
like, yeah. So, but no, that's so obviously you taste in music, and I posted, and I had to argue with Kenny because he, of course, commented on my post about the music, and I
Well,
said
yeah.
early 2000s rap music is where it's at.
No,
Obviously, Kenny, you had a difference of opinion there.
I did. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not as good.
Ooh,
shots fired, right? Shots fired. So, what about you, Kenny? What was different, I guess, in that realm?
For me, honestly, it was less about the age difference because I really didn't notice much as the age difference. Yeah, the musical interest, but I mean, I don't know that it was as much an age thing. We just liked different types of music at the time, especially. It's evolved, but it wasn't necessarily an age difference or a generation difference. The biggest thing that I noticed between the two of us was the way she grew up versus the way I grew up. Traveling versus me not traveling. Like growing up, when my dad would go to Lowe's, that was like his big trip for the week, And so we stayed in one area. We ate certain types of foods. We didn't eat a lot of seafood here because you don't get a lot of good seafood here in Central PA, obviously. And, my dad wasn't a seafood guy. So my mom cooked what my dad was going to eat. Right. And Nell was all over the place traveling and eating all sorts of different things. And that was the biggest difference for me. it wasn't the age thing. It was the how we grew up and the difference. And I got out to some, like, it was almost like a new world. And it's like, well, this world is fantastic. I don't like this world. I like this world a lot better. And that's where it all came from, really.
Nice. So other than so music, right? And we have the travel, but like no style, because I know like millennials had a very distinct style. That's Mel's kind of realm, is the style part of things. We had lots of cringeworthy styles.
Oh, so many cringeworthy styles.
I think we all have at some point. Like
Yeah.
in high school, I don't know. I mean, this may be a difference, but in high school, you used to like roll your jeans at the bottom. You used to like puff them and roll them.
Could I take I wish I would have took a picture of Nell's face.
I did an 80s night, and I actually had two of my friends that are probably like early 40s. And they did a competition to roll my jeans up. I wore like acid wash jeans, right? And it was 80s night, and it was like a couple years ago. And they competed against it. And one of them was horrible, and one of them was like spot on. But I never did that when we were young, right?
That wasn't a thing.
I didn't know how to do it. So they were probably 4 years older, 5 years older, maybe.
And a little insight. So I did listen to Crisscross back in the day, right?
Oh, okay.
And I did actually go to school one day with my clothing backwards. I did. So.
Oh my gosh! Like for real? Like you wanted to do that?
I'm not even sure Nell knew. I don't think Nell knew about that.
She does now, and so does
she
the
does
internet.
now. That's right.
We're still finding things out about each other.
I did do that. I'm not proud of it, but I did it.
You know
when we did that? We did that as like a snow dance. When we wanted it to snow, they said that you should wear your clothes inside out and backwards.
Little did you know you were representing Crisscross.
Cool. Yeah, they thought they were cool.
Yeah, you're representing Daddy Mac.
Jeez, that is.
My gosh.
See, we're learning so much about each other
That's
here
right.
today on the Millenniyell. So
I do think music. I just want to say I do think music is a big factor. Like I love my music, but I love 80s music and I love classic rock. So I'm kind of not the norm when it comes to certain musics. But I am not. Here's what's super weird. Talk about Gen Xers. I do not like rock music, like just straight rock and like 90s rock. And like when you said about the hip hop or 90s, it's actually really interesting because that is just one thing that I'm not into. So I could see that difference. I could like resonate with the music.
Listen, I could listen to 90s alternative rock all day, every day.
I could too. But see, Mel, I'm with you. I love classic rock. I love
What's with the Baltimore in us?
I know it has to be because Kenny always used to say I loved Metallica.
Yeah, Metallica's great.
I did, but I don't know what it is. Kenny's always like, you grew up in Baltimore, like you're supposed to like rap, and I was like, well, I do. It's just more like poppy rap.
City.
Yeah, and it's like 2001, like Nelly. You know, it's not Crisscross.
Crisscross.
Yeah, I mean, that was very early on for me, obviously. I was into, I guess, what you would now call gangster rap, I guess, which if you're looking at me, you're like, yeah, okay. But, I mean, I like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and, that kind of music you used to listen to all the time. Tupac. So
well, even just like the things that happened in the music industry. So when that movie Straight Outta Compton came out, Kenny's like, "Oh, we got to go see that," and I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "You don't remember all of that happening?" And I was like, "No, I don't."
Yeah, I like it was happening while I was like, when I first, that had just happened. Like when I first started listening to Dre, his first album came out, so The Chronic had just come out, but all of that had just gone down. With Eazy-E and Ice Cube and, all those guys. So they had all just kind of broken away on their own. And so that was very fresh when I first started listening.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, there's not too much music that I won't listen to. Probably like, and I say like old school country, like the old school, like Hank Williams type of country. It's not something that you're not going to see, me listening to. But anything else, I love 90s rap. is a different genre,
Mhm.
but 2000s is kind of just, that's what I grew up with.
Sure.
And so like the Nelly and the Ja Rules and that kind of upbeat music. And but I mean, one thing that I am embarrassed about, I guess, if you gave an embarrassing, I guess, quote unquote, embarrassing crisscross story, right?
Yeah,
I
that's
think
fine.
every millennial guy, and I don't care what any millennial guy is going to probably be like, oh, no, I didn't do that, right? Every millennial guy knew at least every NSYNC song or every Backstreet song.
Oh, 100%.
Like
Yeah.
you either gravitated towards one, right? And I'll tell you my story, right? I gravitated towards the Backstreet Boys. That was kind of who I leaned into. I'd like the NSYNC, but like Backstreet Boys was where it's at. So listen, like, I mean, I didn't wear like Backstreet clothes to school,
That's
but
probably
like
a good idea.
but I remember having a Walkman disc
Oh,
player.
jeez.
A Walkman.
Right, the disc player. Just imagine. I don't think people understand that. Like, you had to carry like this thing that was about the size of like a dinner plate with you to listen to music, and if you bumped something, it skipped.
So speaking of that, I have a question. So did either of you ever use like a regular Walkman with like a cassette?
Yeah, I had
did.
one at
Okay.
one point.
Okay.
I also
know.
had
Sure if I
the Macaulay Culkin, what's it called, from Home Alone? His little,
Oh.
like, the record, it had like the little microphone, and you could play
Oh.
video cassettes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had
wow.
Rocket Rocker. It was about this big, and it was like neon colors, and the cassette tapes were this big, and they had one on each side. And I
Oh
remember
yeah.
Huey Lewis in the News was on one side, and
Crazy.
gosh, I can't think of the other one, but you would just put it in on each side. I wish I kept that. That I feel
That would be awesome if you
I
did.
know Nell and I were
I
talking,
know.
like, I regret not keeping things from
Yeah,
my childhood.
I
But
know.
that was really cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's I love it. I love just going down memory lane for a
sure.
second, because
Same.
it's just like the struggle we had to go through. Like, kids nowadays, just to pull up their cell phone, and they can have 10 million songs on their phone, where it's like, I remember having the giant book of CDs, right?
Oh yeah.
Trying
Found
to,
mine
like,
the other day.
Yeah, and burning CDs, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh. Napster, LimeWire, BearShare.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the struggle was real. You were scared you were going to go to jail if you downloaded a song, but
Oh,
now,
100%. Yeah.
but now you can post somebody's song on your, YouTube channel, and it's, I mean, you might get some copyright stuff nowadays, but nothing like you thought you were going to be going to jail.
Right.
Right.
No.
So, well, awesome. No, I want to take it to kind of the travel topic, right? I think that's kind of what you guys started your business, right? Obviously, now you were working in a different company and started your own thing, and kind of doing that. But just tell us about the journey to starting the YouTube channel, and like what was that like?
Yeah. So a friend of Kenny's actually, he introduced us to a couple that he was watching on YouTube at the time, a travel vlogger. And we were like, well, what's travel vlogging? And he's like, oh, it's this couple that goes around and films themselves while they're traveling. And we were like, oh, wow, that sounds really cool. We could definitely watch that. So he told us about this couple named Kara and Nate. And I don't know, how long did we watch them for? Like a year or two?
Well,
Before-
I mean, at first we were just like, oh, we don't really watch YouTube, so
No,
like, we
we
just
didn't.
kind of brushed it off. Like, we never paid any attention to it. And then so somewhere along the line, I think he was over, and he was like, I'm gonna make you guys watch it right now. And then we were hooked on their channel.
Yeah, we saw the first video that we ever saw them in was a video from a place called Maho Beach, or famously known as Airplane Beach in St. Martin.
Yeah.
And it's the
Is
beach
that where the
where,
plane like comes like right
Yeah.
top of the
Yep.
beach? Okay.
right above you, because the runway is right behind the beach.
Yeah, I stayed there. That's cool. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
well, eventually, a few years later, we did too, and it was like wild when we filmed that vlog there, because we were like, oh, well, this is how we started doing all of this, was watching a vlog about Airplane Beach, and now we're doing it.
Yeah.
But so we started watching Kara and Nate, and we were hooked. And then I think we were in Vegas
Yes.
for Thanksgiving in 2019, and we were like, well, why can't we do this? People are always asking us, because we were constantly traveling. People are like, oh, where are you headed next? Oh, you guys are never home, so we're never going to ask you to do anything. And we're like, that's fine. And so we just pulled out our phones and started vlogging it and put together our first vlog. And that's where I started learning how to video edit. And of course, the end of 2019 was not the best time to start a travel YouTube channel.
Right, where we couldn't jump.
Perfect timing.
Definitely not.
No, so we were like, well, we just started this. I mean, how can we keep this going? There's no travel and all of that. So I don't know. Somehow we just legitimately, it almost motivated us even more to invest in the travel channel. We bought a camera. We stopped using our cell phones to vlog, and we got a microphone. I learned how to use the camera, learned how to video edit even more. And Kenny he ended up becoming, we always call him the Nate of our relationship, because Nate of Kara and Nate, he's the one that does like all the travel planning and all the travel hacking and all of that stuff. And Kara's the one that does all of the filming and the editing.
Okay.
And Kenny started becoming really enthralled with like researching places to go and travel hacking. And during the pandemic, one of our credit cards ended up like changing the point structure to where if you spend, now you're going to have to chime in here, like if you spent so much money, they were giving you extra points on like groceries because people weren't going out to eat and traveling. Okay. So he started becoming more enthralled with the inner workings of credit card travel hacking. And so we honestly used the pandemic to learn a lot and do some research and do like very minimal trips, like across the state lines when we thought,
it was illegal.
Right. Yeah. And it was
you thought you were going to get arrested by going to Maryland.
We did. We asked somebody because we went to Jimmy's Famous Seafood to go pick up food, and we texted.
You guys love that place.
Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah, we certainly do.
We texted John, the owner, and we were like, "Hey, can we go?" And he was like, "What do you mean, can you go?" And we were like, "Well, we live in Pennsylvania. We heard there were people at the border like stopping you, and it's illegal to go over." And he was like, "No, you're good."
He's like, "There's nobody at the border."
That's how they made it seem, though.
No, they did. Well, you remember when we had some friends come over, John and Aaron, and we like parked their car in our garage because they didn't want the neighbors to think there was like people over that didn't live here. Right. It was wild times.
We were afraid.
Wild times.
I'm having like super spreader parties at my house.
Well, it should have been is what we should have been doing, but we were like, "Oh my God, what's everybody thinking?" And then quickly realized, okay, yeah, nobody's thinking that.
No, and I mean at the time, like John and Aaron were the only people that we were seeing, so we were desperate to go out and travel, and going to Jimmy's and going to Maryland was like, yes,
yeah, exactly,
Maryland,
for sure,
this is awesome. So we filmed that. So we just started filming. Random things that we would do in our lives.
To be fair about this, Nell was the mastermind behind like the video editing and stuff, because I never knew how to do that. I mean, I can do enough to be dangerous now at this point. But she was the mastermind behind it. So yeah, we were filming like with our phone and doing that kind of thing. But it was like, okay, how do we get this to you? How do we turn this from what's on your phone to YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had no idea, honestly.
No.
And she is the mastermind that figured all that out. So from that standpoint, we were both in front of the camera. We were both filming things, but on the back end, she was like, all right, I'm going to figure out how to get this done. So,
yeah. And honestly, kudos to the pandemic for allowing us to have that time. I don't know if we would be where we are right now if we didn't have that time. And I'm not saying that the pandemic was a good thing by any stretch of the imagination, but it truly gave, if there's anything positive from the pandemic, it gave us time to think about what we're really doing with our lives. And it gave us the ability to reconnect with things that we love. Right. And so there are positives that did come out of it.
Yeah.
And YouTube for us was one of them.
That's cool. Yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about it on the podcast before about how there were a lot of positive things that came out, but negative, like it made things better. It was like we want to say like make it or break it. Like there were a lot of things that like, breakups or divorces, like a lot of things came to light, let's just say. And
Yes.
Sure.
but it was an opportunity to work on that, right? And I think a lot of people didn't like they couldn't, or they realized it wasn't, it's like a lot of realizations, but that's really cool that it gave you that time to kind of come together, because I was going to ask about working together. Like, yeah.
That's where I
Yeah.
was leading into.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hear about that, because I would love to like have that with a partner, I just love that idea, but maybe I don't know.
I honestly, and I'll let you talk about this more, but he knows my feelings. Because we also used to work together at a company before we started doing all this. And my feelings about it, one of the biggest challenges for me when I started full time with enTICEing Media was not working together.
Yeah, I missed it.
Yeah.
That was the biggest transition. So yeah, we worked together, and I actually still work for that company. Nell runs our business full time, because the business, honestly, and we can get into that a little bit if you want to. The business has evolved into spaces that we never intended, and just naturally did. And my inability to be present in the business as much while I kept working forced the business in certain ways. It just had to be. But yeah, that was the biggest thing for me. We started working together and we didn't know what to expect at the company. And then by the end of it, when we weren't anymore, we both missed it. So we both missed, like, we had this void in our day because we weren't seeing each other like we were used to seeing each other. So that was a little bit of a challenge at first.
Yeah, I mean, when you're used to spending so much time with a person, and I think we make a great team. Like we have different personalities and different skill sets that work together really well.
Yes.
So, we always had this boundary where at the office, it was all officey. And then when we came home, as soon as we walked in the door, I think at one point we'd said, okay, no work talk. And then we would allow ourselves like 30 minutes of work talk when we got home. And then all of a sudden it was like, on to regular married life. But we've always been able to have that separation
That's important.
between work or business and life. And I think that's really been helpful. But yeah, we totally missed like a lot of people's biggest challenges going into full-time entrepreneurship is just, feeling alone. And I think that for me, that was accelerated because I went from working with my husband to now being by myself like all day.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a different challenge now, like over the past year, especially now in the last 6 to 8 months, because when you start a business, the first part of it, you weren't like super busy or anything like that. But now that you're a lot busier, I'm attempting at least to step into more roles inside the company, doing more things, learning some of the things that she's doing. But it's difficult because those things for me have to be done in the evening or on the weekends. And those are our times to see each other. And those are her times to be away from work. And so it's a balance. It really is a balance, because I don't want her to be working all night and all weekend after she worked all day. But for me to get any time to spend on the business, it is on at night and on the weekends. So that's a balance that we're honestly learning every day, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
it is a different dynamic, especially just because like most people like that start a business, right? They, like you said, that there's that separation, and it's just interesting to hear that, it was kind of the opposite, right? It's like,
yeah,
you're not able to spend that time with that person because you're not at work with them. But so how did you define your roles? Did they just kind of come about and you're like, hey, this is naturally what I fall into? and I'm cool with that? Or was it like, hey, you need to really have, like, you guys like sit down, have a discussion about like, Kenny, I need you to do this, right? I'm going to do this. Like, how did that work? Because like for me, like, I know, like, me and my wife, she works from home now, which is awesome. And it's so much awesome because we get to spend a lot more time together. But like, she's upstairs right now, she's in her office, and when she leaves her office, I leave my office, like the day's done, right? Like, we're not talking about work necessarily, but like, we're not in the same business like you guys. Like you guys are in business together, whereas like Megan, like with my business, is more so like a support system, right? Like, she's there to support me, and like, and if I need help in certain areas, like, she's there, but she's not in the business, right? So talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that, especially from a married couple's standpoint.
Well, I mean, I can jump in a little bit on this. So that is essentially kind of how we handle the business at this point anymore. I'm the support system. I do the QuickBooks stuff and things like that, but that doesn't take a lot of time. It's a pretty easy business to run in that regard. But yeah, I'm the support system. Nell is completely running the day-to-day operations. Unless it's something very specific, I don't email people or talk to people or anybody. That I'm completely behind the scenes as far as that goes. So that is our role. And it's interesting because it was never meant to be that when we started the business. It was actually, I was going to be doing everything. Like, I was going to do like smart home installations and like audio, like home audio, video, like television, sound system, smart home, stuff like that, because I have a passion for that stuff. And so that's what the business started to be, until we realized that when she decided, okay, I'm going to start doing this with like the video editing and stuff like that, I'm like, all right, cool, you'll do that and I'll do this, and then this is where we're going to go. And it completely took over because I didn't have any time to like spend on it, basically, on my side. And when she went full time, it was like, all right, so this thing needs to go in the direction that it needs to for you, and I'm going to keep working, and you're going to do the business, and that's the direction we're going to go. And then she can speak to all the different directions it's gone since then, which we never planned. But yeah, it was originally like audio, video, smart home installation stuff. That's what it was going to be.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah.
it totally is. And
That's
even
all it was going to be.
as of recently, he just had a client for that. And so it kind of took me back a little bit, a couple of years, because I was like, yeah, that's right. This was what was supposed to be happening. But we definitely, our roles kind of shifted naturally at that point, once we made that decision where I would go full time and he was going to stay at work. Because I mean, he's always like, just in our home life, he's always been kind of the bill payer, the accountant of our little family, right?
Which is sad to think about.
It's not, because I absolutely hate doing that stuff. And I think that stems from a time where I was working at a company, and I was very young. I was maybe 20, 21, and my paychecks were bouncing. And I would constantly be monitoring my account and seeing my paycheck go in and then the money not going through, and I had bills to pay, and I was constantly like, some of my bills would be overdrafted, and I think I have like PTSD from that. So I just naturally shy away from doing anything financial, and I've had to overcome some of that since the business, but he just kind of took all of that over. He's the one that set up QuickBooks and handles the categorizing of everything. And I was like, okay, so if I'm not doing any of the financials or the accounting, then I am going to be responsible for all of the front of the house stuff. So all of the creatives, all of the marketing, and all of the work that's going into it. And my skill set was video editing at the time. And I had heard of YouTubers having people to manage their accounts and editing their videos. So I started reaching out to YouTubers and eventually started getting some inquiries about photography for businesses, and then that led into videography, and I was just kind of evolving with all of it. And Kenny kept his position sort of more behind the scenes. But yeah, so I would say that we definitely fell naturally into our roles, and that's definitely how this business has shifted and is continuing to shift today.
Every day.
That's funny. I'm reading the Build Your Empire by Elena Cardone,
Oh.
and it's really
Oh,
interesting. It's why I'm kind of like asking the questions about working together, because obviously they work together, and it's about an empire where, you're really supporting each other and building a bigger picture. But that they talked about their roles too, Billy. That was interesting because she said that they had to determine their roles, like, right, and that he does all the business things, and that she will give an opinion, but it's his final say. And she does all like the house. I mean, she does stuff for work. She has her own businesses, right? But at home, like, she does like the family. She runs the house, and he can give his opinions on that, but she has the final say.
Oh, that's great. I love it. And I love the couples that have that set structure. And I just don't feel like we're that structured, but
No,
maybe at some point we will be.
Yeah, we're not that structured. I mean, the structure that we must maintain is Nell is the creative one in the relationship. She's completely creative. She's brilliant when it comes to creativity, and I'm just not. I'm kind of a master of making things work, but she is brilliant with coming up with the ideas and actually the fine details of editing and things like that. And my brain's not wired that way. So I think we fit very well together in that regard.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds it.
No, I mean, I love it. Like, that's kind of how I think our relationship works in the sense of me and Megan. It's just like you kind of like fall into your niche, right?
Mhm.
Like, and there's just certain things that people are just, I guess, more prepared to handle than other things. Just like going back to like what you said with like the money, like, hey, that freaked you out, like gave you anxiety, right? It was right in Kenny's wheelhouse. So like, why not? Like, yeah, you could try to do that stuff, but like that's not what you're naturally want to gravitate towards.
Mhm.
And so, my mom always used to say, have their aces in their places, right? So having the right people, the right things in place. Like for me, I hate doing paperwork, and so I outsource that, right? Like, 'cause I
Yeah.
hate doing it, right?
Yeah.
Don't blame
But
me.
so that's the travel channel. But now, I mean, now like it's crazy because like I don't even know how long I've known you at this point, but I remember talking to you early on in your business venture, right? I think you got introduced to the world, right? And through a channel, right? But anyways, right? Got introduced, and I remember just having a conversation with you, and you were just kind of getting geared up to do the video and stuff like that. And you did a video for me, which I still use today. We got to do another one here
Good.
soon. We got to update it. I think that's been at least a year now, right?
It has. I think it's been a year. I think we met, it was probably almost exactly a year ago in February. I remember being connected with you by somebody that we know, Kyle. And yeah, I think I came to film. Was it April?
I think so. I believe
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So for me, like personally, I know a lot about your business just because, like, I promote the crap out of you because I'm like,
You do.
just go,
And I
just
am
go find out.
so appreciative.
Just like I think I remember because like I was thinking, I was like how you got connected with Matt and stuff like that, and I remember I showed Matt my video. I was like, Matt, like you got to take a look at this, and then he was like, who did that? I was like, oh, her name's Nell. He's like, can you connect me with her? I was like, yeah, sure. Like,
That's
not a problem.
right. Oh my gosh.
So, but like, I'm not trying to take credit for that. I'm just saying I love doing that for people. Like, I love like being able to connect people and stuff like that. But with all that said, you're almost like graduating to other phases of your business at this point, right? And so, like, talk about what else you're doing, both of you. Like, talk about, because Kenny, you started a podcast. Was it the Drunken Squirrel? Is that?
Yeah, the Drunk Squirrel have It's myself and my co-host Rob. So yeah, that was something that kind of fell into my lap a little bit. He came to. It actually started with, so he had a podcast previous to that, and that kind of his partner kind of, they, I don't want to say they separated, but they weren't going to do the podcast anymore, but he still had a desire to do something. And so he came to Nell because he wanted to see what it would look like to possibly have enTICEing Media do some of the production work and that kind of thing. And in that conversation, I wasn't even here. I was at work actually. But in that conversation, like it clicked. He's like, oh, well, I should have, if enTICEing Media is going to be a part of this, I should have Kenny be my co-host. I should ask Kenny to be my co-host. So that's what he did.
We kind of joked about it at first.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's
yeah,
awfully
right.
familiar.
I know.
Like, cool. Yeah, that sounds good. Is that how that worked out with you two?
That's exactly how it worked out.
Oh, that's cool.
It literally, we connected in the middle of the pandemic through Central PA's business group, right? Mm-hmm. She was doing this podcast. I came on one time, then came on another time, and then she just literally sent me a message that, hey, we have really good, conversations. Let's do this together.
In the podcast, I go, okay. Like I was like, you're on, like you're in, like
let's do this together.
Yeah, I was like, Kelsey, join me, be my co-host. We're like in the middle of the podcast.
That's awesome, because you would, listening or seeing it now, you would never know that you guys never not co-hosted together.
Yeah, I didn't really honestly do all that much myself. I had a couple things that I had started, but it was just really difficult to come up with content and to do it on my own. And now it's really funny because come full circle, I just posted the video of how I want to really put out a lot of the stuff that I think back when I was really approached to do it in the first place. This is really what, these conversations are really what they wanted, to do. Yeah. But I think it was timing and just me needing to kind of get through stuff, but I wasn't able to do it on my own. But all the stuff that Billy, that's why I thanked him in that video, because it wouldn't be anything without him.
Yeah. So. That's so sweet. Yeah. I haven't watched that video yet.
That's a cool story. That's a very good story. I like it.
Yeah. Cool. It's wild. It's just I would have never, I love podcasts. Mm-hmm. I love listening to them. I never thought in a million years that I would be on a podcast, but here we are.
Right. Here we are.
I think that we all kind of feel the same way. People may not realize this, but Kenny and I actually had a podcast. This was before, was it before the YouTube channel? No, maybe it wasn't. No, I don't remember. It wasn't
before the YouTube channel.
No, you're right. It was February of 2020. This only lasted a few months, but Kenny and it was okay. I'll tell the real story. So we had the truth. So the truth is, we had a snow day in the midst of, I think it was February of 2020, and no March, and we got drunk in the middle of the day. We were drinking wine.
Love it.
And I was like,
so millennial of you.
Right. Very millennial. And I said, I want to start a podcast. I've always wanted to start a podcast. And Kenny's like, so do it. And I went on to, was it Sweetwater or B&H Photo and Video? And I ordered a bunch of podcasting equipment.
Oh yeah. So microphones started showing up, mixers started showing up.
Microphones.
I'm like, holy crap, she's really ordering this whole getup.
So these microphones are the only remaining piece of equipment from that day.
Right, that is true.
Day. And now we have a whole different setup, but I ordered a mixer and microphones and everything. And I think the day we got them, I set everything up, figured out how to plug everything into a mixer. I'd never used a mixer before in my life. Set everything up, and we recorded our first episode. And I was like, this is fun. This is really, really fun. And then I started really getting into it. And apparently, and we put it out on Anchor at the time, and we had thousands of downloads within months. But I had no idea what I was doing. Never really paid attention to statistics. And unfortunately, I didn't, because I really feel like that podcast could have gone somewhere.
That's crazy.
But it all worked out.
But
Yeah.
you evolved into something, you know.
Yeah, so we just stopped recording it, and that was like August of 2020, I think it was.
There's still episodes out there though.
They
You can
are. They're
find them
still
on
on. It was
Spotify
called
and
Just the Two of Us with Kenny and Nell.
yeah, they're
It
still
was
there.
about living the child-free life.
I love it.
Yeah, that would be an interesting almost reboot at this
Yeah.
point, you know.
Oh, it could be. You
You know,
never know.
you never.
Oh no!
Oh.
Oh, is this more breaking news?
They're gonna. Well, no,
No.
they're.
Not yet.
We just had this conversation more recently. Actually, it's like if I get any more on my plate or get any more involved in the business, like I don't know how I could possibly continue to work full time. Like,
yeah.
You get to a breaking point. I feel like with the business and you're trying to grow it, you can only do so much if you're still working. If you're working full time.
Like, isn't
Yeah.
that the time that they say that you kind of have to go all in then at that time?
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. And we were fortunate enough that we're a couple, so one of us was able to do it and not the other. But I feel like the business will get to a point where it can grow, but it won't grow because other parts of your life are holding it back. And that's when you really need to take a look and be like, all right, what's it going to be? It's going to be one way or the other. And I don't feel like we're that far off from that conversation. I'm not talking weeks, but I can already see her getting busier and busier and busier. It's like, all right, so I need to start, taking some of these things I've been doing, like with the drunk squirrel. The first round of episodes I edited myself, with a little guidance from her. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. Okay, so I did it, and then we changed software that we were using. So she's like, all right, well, I need to, she was getting to learn the software. She's like, all right, let me get it down, and then I'll explain to you like the differences and stuff. So, but I've gotten into the podcast editing now. But it has to be, she only can do so much. And so eventually it'll just get to the point where you're just holding your business back by not going all in. And I don't know when that time is, but it feels like it's going to get there.
I feel like you're closer to that than you are staying like in your current state. You know what I mean? Like I feel you're closer to the end than you think.
But at the same time, you still need to be able to generate that income then, because at that point you have nothing other than what you're doing. And that's scary.
Well, it is, but it's actually really funny because I've had, when you talk about getting other things like like out, like I've gone to part-time jobs or other jobs for the income, but it actually distracted me from my business. Like, yes, it was stability. Yes, it was security. Yes, it was healthcare. But to be honest, I had the money from that, but then I neglected my business. Like instead of treating it where it's like, okay, I'm going here, I'm getting this money, I went like all in for that and like, I'm doing fine. I can, I have all this. And then so when I actually, we talked about this on our podcast that I lost a part-time job, but it was a pretty hefty dollar amount. I actually decided, I was like, you know what? No, I'm actually going to focus on the things with my business that I've needed to do that I've ignored for the last 5 years. Right. And I said, I'm going to struggle. Right. And I have. So I've worked really hard, but I've also really removed a lot of distractions. And I wasn't really going out. I wasn't spending, but it was really tight. But at the same time, I knew this is what I had to do. I actually I have not had any doubt. I have had 100% confidence. And I don't have a safety net. I had, only so much you can borrow, it's like mom, dad, so it's like, no, I didn't want to do that anymore. So I just literally had to force myself to face those. And right before you guys popped on, I just actually secured a monthly contract with a new client. It's going to pay for my whole house, so
that's
it's
amazing. Congratulations.
Nice work. See, but you wouldn't be here probably if you wouldn't have made that decision to refocus on the business.
Right. And that's where you're at. I mean, it's very scary. You are right. And I don't, and I look at, and it's hard because I have a couple friends that are single and we're like, it's not easy when you have only one income and you have, by the way, it's just the business. At least I have friends that have, full-time jobs and,
Right.
benefits and all that. But it is a lot easier when there's two,
Yeah.
two
Oh,
agents.
yeah.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
It is
And
it's a whole lot easier with one person being able to
But
continue
I
to
think that it's
earn.
that knowing, like leaning into that, like that intuition and that kind of that, I've really been believing, like manifesting and just really seeing myself, like seeing it happen. And just every day I'm just really focused on those higher dollar, like kind of more of those packages where,
Yeah.
good for you. That's where you are right there. That's where you got to be. And kudos to you for not giving up on those, those self-development moments.
when I could have gone back to I could have literally said, I can't do this and I'm going to go do a full-time job. And I knew it was I was the same cycle of going and and just going to something else. And I said, if I can stick this out, it's going to be tough. Like,
Yeah.
It's going to be ramen for a few nights.
It is. It's not easy.
But
Not for the
honestly,
faint of heart.
No.
I am not scared. I'll tell you what, is the first time in my entire life I have not been afraid. I've not been scared. Like I'll figure it out. And that's where I think you kind of will know. Like maybe you'll, because it sounds like you kind of have that.
The bug is there.
Bug
right?
is there.
It definitely is, and the bug, like I said, has come from a space that I see just what's going on. Like I can see like the writings on the wall. I can see how busy that she's getting, and it's like, okay, you just know there's going to be a moment, and it's like it's going to be a huge decision to make. So
Right.
Also working on ideas for, developing passive income too, which is really important these days, especially for those that are going all in with everything. So yeah, it's a wild ride, but
sure is.
It's interesting because as scary as it is, I feel like you get used to that scaredness. It almost seems like you're numb to it by this point. Like even just the thought of Kenny, like if he came home today and said, "All right, that's it, I'm done," I'd be like, "All right, cool, we'll figure it out."
Yeah.
Whereas a year ago, I probably would have gone into a corner with a bottle of bourbon and just sobbed.
You actually did that the other, like a couple Fridays ago. I came home in the middle of the day. I came home for
No holds bar on the Millenniyell.
I came home for super glue, right? So I needed
drinking bourbon. I was making breakfast.
No, I needed super glue and work for something, and the house was closer to Lowe's. So I drove here and I walked in the door, and she's like, "Is today the day?"
He's just waiting. See,
I'm like, no.
But it's manifesting because you know what? She's literally saying like, "Oh, is today the day? Today's going to be the day." Because what she's saying is, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Somewhere down the road, it will happen for sure.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
I love it. No.
Anyway, that's it.
We'll be waiting to have you on again for those.
Yeah, then we'll have to release that news. So I only have one more question. And by the way, today's questions were sponsored by ChatGPT. So all the questions that I've asked you today have been sponsored by that.
It's big right now. That's big.
It's big. It's big. It's written the description. I popped it up earlier, right here. There's the description of the show today. If you're just tuning in, guys, this is Kenny and Nell, right? They're sharing their story about traveling outside their comfort zones, and so that we just got into a big, one of those zones.
Yeah.
ChatGPT let me down. The title of the episode should have been "Traveling Outside of Your Comfort Zone."
Yeah.
See?
It could have been, but before we went live, I said that title sounds like an A&E special.
It does. It's 30 for 30.
The true Hollywood story or something.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I only have one more question. I know we've been on for a while, but since you guys do travel, right? This is kind of more lighthearted question.
Okay.
Right. What are can you share with us some of your favorite travel destinations? Why did they stand out and why were they so unique?
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know you're pining for this.
Okay, so in the United States, our favorite spot that we've found is, so I really like Clearwater Beach, in Florida. So we stopped going to like we used to just go to like the East Coast beaches, like in the Northeast or whatever, and it was fine, and we just did that over and over and over, and it's like, okay, I'm kind of pining for something new. And we ended up in Florida at Clearwater Beach, and that's it's not as much of a hidden gem as it was when we first started going. I feel like people are getting there now, and it has gotten progressively busier. But that's my favorite like beach destination in the United States. But the favorite place I've ever been in the United States has been the San Diego area. Like, it is just fantastic. So if you've never been, you got to go. It is so great. The weather's great, the food's great, the people are great, and those are my two top travel destinations in the United States. But you got to kind of be beachy people for those places. So
I love the beach.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I will say that for me, my favorite place is a toss-up between Costa Rica and Hawaii.
Yeah.
Both almost kind of similar in terrain. Costa Rica, there's something about the clouds forming over the volcanoes that's just like, it's pure joy. Hawaii, I mean, the beach, the water, the mountains, and I'm fascinated by the dry side and the wet side of Oahu. It's like it's like the desert versus the jungle. It's amazing. But Costa Rica was absolutely stunning for me. We were on the Pacific side when we went, so I'm really eager to see the Caribbean side.
Very much.
But even just, we were so close to the border of Nicaragua. And
yeah, we were very far north.
Yes. Yeah. So you could just, I mean, it was just, it was so beautiful. It's hard to even describe, but yeah, I love that terrain, that like Jurassic Park looking terrain. And but yeah, I mean, we're definitely beach people, but I really want to focus a lot more on national parks at some point, and I think that we'll do that.
Yeah, that's something that I think we're gonna jump. Yeah, I
We've
love
talked
islands.
about van life.
Yeah, we talked about van life.
Yeah, I like camper. Like, I was like, I got divorced. I was like, I'm gonna get a camper and
do it.
And live across.
I could do a Sprinter van, like one of those like retrofit, like a Sprinter van.
That's
right?
what we talk about doing, and because we constantly we're back and forth. Like, I know we're not going to be in Lebanon for the rest of our lives.
Are you certain?
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope not.
Yeah, we talk about moving to. Oh my gosh, we've talked about moving to North Carolina, to Tampa, to Clearwater Beach, to Pensacola, to
Pensacola is the newest location.
Yeah, Pensacola is the thing right now.
That's gotten the most. That's I feel like I've dove as far into that as anywhere else, to be honest with you. But there's other reasons for that as well, not just I love it here. We did love it there, but there are some other things going on in Pensacola for us that could lead us there at some point. So
yeah.
But I'm an island guy. I love going to islands. I know Mel said she was in St. Martin and stayed Mahu Beach.
Was awesome.
It was so awesome because it was so safe. I felt so safe everywhere. Like, you could walk around at night, walk down the street. Like, it was just super chill in that regard. Yeah. So awesome. I don't know if Mel, did you have the same experience?
I was young. It was a graduation gift. My dad with his work, so my sister and I went. But yeah, my uncle actually ended up going. It was for a work trip. We took scooters, little mopeds around the whole island because it is too small. Cool. So we actually stayed at the hotel right like where the planes are coming in, and we ended up staying there. I guess there's the Dutch side, French side, right? Is that what it is? So we literally took the scooters around the whole day and just, but yeah, I mean, I was young and I felt fine. I mean, I was only 18, so.
Yeah, it was very safe. Did you happen to stay at the Sonesta?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I'd have to like.
It may not have been Sonesta at that time because I know it got. I mean, it's gotten undergone several renovations. I think.
Well, it was renovated when it was destroyed by the hurricane.
Yeah, then there's that too.
But there's that property that's right next to it, though. I don't remember the name of it.
I think it was Royalton.
Yeah, it's whatever was like out onto the water, like the one if you're at it and
Yeah.
the planes are landing, it would be like, I'll try to look it
Yeah.
up.
Right there. Yeah, that's a really, really cool area
Yeah.
to stay in. So yeah, absolutely.
I love
I'm
it.
curious about have you done podcasts at all about the travel, like the tips and like, I don't have credit cards, but when I, want to just kind of get that back and kind of going, and a business card and stuff. Do you have podcasts that you talked about how to get points and the travel and all
We
that?
did a podcast, I think, on mine on What the Nell, probably pretty early on. I think we did. I'll send that to you if I
But
can.
we talk about that stuff mostly on the radio show.
We do on the
so-
radio show
Okay.
mostly.
which we
yeah.
haven't really dove into at all here, but we've
No,
been
but
talking
Kenny
about too many
does.
other things. But yeah.
Right
Kenny
there.
does.
Sandcastle
Oh, look at that, Sandcastle!
Debs and Pete are listening.
Yeah, I'd be curious about hearing some of the tips that you guys do on your travel. Yeah,
Yeah, well, Kenny has a segment that he does during our show every Thursday night that he calls the points proper, and it's usually some sort of travel hacking moment, whether it be how to get points or not how to get points, but yeah, and some of them are how to get points, but travel hacking tips on certain cards, what certain cards are offering. Like if there's a huge deal going on right now, he'll talk about that. Last night, he talked about Google Flights and how to use them, and just some things that we've talked about, how to pack before, packing tips and all kinds of stuff. So we're really trying to cover all things because we do realize that a lot of people don't have travel credit cards, but we've talked about how to start using them if you want to, and how they don't make any sense if you're not paying them off every month. So, and Billy knows, Mr. Financial over here, we're not in the business
Don't
of
carry
selling.
a balance.
Yeah, we're not in the business of selling credit cards to people that can't handle credit cards. So
right.
Yeah.
But use them for what they're,
exactly.
what they're for, and then get the free, get the perks.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of credit cards out there. Every credit card is not for everyone, depending on the type of spending that you do, and depending what you actually want to do, what you want to get out of it. But there are some really, really handsome welcome bonuses on a lot of your travel credit cards that really make sense if you're looking to dive into something. So
Yeah.
then-
A place I always look for good credit card information. I go on NerdWallet a lot. They
Oh,
have a lot
yeah.
of-
Oh,
they have,
yeah.
they have a lot of good information on credit cards, and they're they tell you everything you need to know about the card.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good source too. But
another good resource is the Points Guy.
Yes.
For that's not necessarily just they're giving you advice on credit cards with travel perks, not necessarily cash back and things like that, which is a whole other category. But when it comes to travel perks, Points Guy is a great resource for that, because every month they'll just do like the top 10 credit cards, what they're currently offering for welcome bonuses, and like what spending they are best for, like groceries, restaurants, whatever, that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I love
and
it.
I know we did a YouTube video on how we traveled to Hawaii for free. And we have done a couple of things, on the radio show too, about how we've earned free travel and how to manipulate, like when you do have points with like the Hilton, for example, which is what we do, utilizing those points and leveraging them to get free nights to be able to travel for free. So we do a lot of that too.
I like to
but
watch.
but yeah, every week on Thursday night live on Sandcastle Radio, we talk about nothing but travel, and then have a little point segment, travel hacking segment. But yeah, so but
Awesome.
if you do have any questions about points and things like that, points and miles and how to use them and redeem them, just reach out.
Yeah.
We're on
Yeah,
Facebook,
absolutely.
like whatever. Just say, hey, what do you think might be a good brand credit card for me? I don't know. Well, what do you want to do? That type of thing. And
I love it. I love it. I think it's a good kind of place to just kind of end the show today.
Sure.
been so much
I
fun.
definitely think we should have you guys on again. I think we could definitely get a little bit more into like the generational stuff. We kind of had to hit everything today.
Yeah.
And next time we could have a little bit more in-depth conversation about those types of topics because they're interesting as well too. So
Oh yeah.
Um,
I love talking about generational topics. And I know I've sent Billy a couple of TikToks before that I've found that
Yep.
strategically pop up on my For You page. And it's fun. I love discussing that stuff because it is interesting how we're all different with
It's true.
generational upbringings.
Yeah. So Kenny, I don't know if you've watched the end of the show before, but we do two things before we get out of here.
Okay.
Right. And the first thing is the millennial meme of the week. So that was me just doing that right now. We do have that splice somewhere. Mel has it.
I know.
And see, the problem is when I have Nell and Mel on the same show, it like the names kind of like intertwined there for a second. So it's like Nell, right? Like they kind of fall into each other. So I picked the meme of the week, and so none of you have seen it yet.
I have
so
not.
We're gonna blind react to it. So I thought it was pretty funny. So it says me leaving work the day before vacation. So it's a picture. If you're just listening, right? First of all, if you're just listening, you should come check out the live show.
Absolutely,
it's so much more fun. You can interact with us, have a good time. Right, we'll pop your comments up on the screen here, and we'll interact with you. But it's a picture of that. Everybody's seen that little picture of that girl. She's looked like she's like trying to sprint away. She's got the yellow jacket on. She looks like she's running for her life, and it says "Me leaving work the day before vacation."
And it looks like she has a stick of dynamite in her hand.
I think that's an accurate portrayal of how I've been in the past. Yes.
So that I saw that. It was the first meme I saw, so I popped it up.
That's perfect, actually.
But the second part of the show, right, is another part of the show is what we like to call Mel's moment.
Ooh.
So again, we're gonna get those sound effects built in, so we don't have to worry about that, right? But
he says it the same though. Like how he's got that like same.
Wait, that's not pre-recorded.
No, it's him.
I think you just gotta.
It's pre-recorded.
You have to keep doing it though, Billy, to keep it authentic. Keep doing it this way.
I know.
Actually, it would be really funny if people listen to it for like a year and they're like, "Wait, that you said that every single time."
I really thought that was pre-recorded.
People are probably thinking that it was pre-recorded.
I'm just gonna give the microphone all the credit there. But anyways, at the end of the show, what we typically do is we give Mel an opportunity to share a piece of advice with us to take us into the weekend. But when we have special guests on, that responsibility falls to the guest. So that's you, Kenny, Nell, right? I want you both to give us a piece of advice or some type of just something positive to take us into the weekend. Kenny, I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't tell you we were going to be doing this. Nell has been run through the ringer when it comes to Mel's moment. I think I actually called it Nell's moment one time. But I just want you to do that so that we can end the show for today and just have a good overall weekend. So whoever wants to go first, I'll let you guys decide, and then we'll go from there.
I can go first. That's fine. So I have something that I have a go-to kind of on this topic because it's something that I've learned while traveling, and it's the reason why when we go to restaurants, just the two of us, like the old podcast name, we end up sitting at the bar, whether or not we're drinking anything. We always end up sitting at the bar, and for me, it's the random conversation. It's don't be afraid to just talk to random people that you're sitting next to that just come into your life, that you're in a cab. We had a cab driver in St. Thomas that was from Jerusalem. And we got to the end of that cab ride and we wanted to drive around the rest of the island with him because it was so much fun. So don't be afraid to talk to random people, speak with random people, get their story, learn more about them because people have fascinating stories and you'd be surprised what you're going to hear and see, and you might get a new friend.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and so I would say, so this isn't necessarily a piece of advice, but it kind of is. I don't know. So do something this weekend that puts you outside of your comfort zone. Get a little uncomfortable, because if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. And so if something for you is just putting a video of yourself on Facebook, if that terrifies you, record a 30-second video and put it out there. If it terrifies you to just send a random message to someone to say, "Hey, been thinking about you. Hope you're having a great day." Do it. Do something that puts you outside of your comfort zone. And that is one step closer to whatever your goals are. And just get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Oh, I love how you just tied in the tagline of the podcast.
This is what we do.
I told you she's the creative one.
Jeez, man, professional. That's all we need to say.
Well,
there.
listen, as a professional storyteller, you got to think about the end at the beginning.
You
Okay?
just tied that up in a nice bow. We put in a package right there for people. Before we jump off, Kenny, that is exactly your point. Is exactly what my grandfather always used to tell me.
Yeah.
And he said, if you ever want to run a successful business, just do that. Just talk to as many people as you possibly can. So,
did you see that your mom made that comment or no?
No, I didn't.
She did. She said, sounds just like your grandpa Billy.
Oh yeah, I see that now.
Oh, that's your mom?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was your mom.
Oh, hi, mom.
Hi, Billy. Hi, Billy's mom.
And I will add just one, since I don't get the Mel's moment. However, I love doing that. I've always done that. And I've had people kind of try to stop me from doing that. And I'm going to talk about that on my podcast about, not like being told, not to, but I absolutely love that. I've met such fantastic people.
Oh yeah.
It's both great advice and Nell's advice. I did that, put my podcast out there by being, I was very, very afraid, but I did it anyway. So I love both of those.
Good for you.
And then right before we jump off here, Nell, where can they find you if they want to reach out, for your services and stuff like that? And obviously, Kenny, let us know where we can go to find the drunk squirrel and the sandcastle. I feel like that should just be all one title at this point. The drunken
sandcastle squirrel.
So it's like a football team or something.
It does.
So you guys can reach me. You can find me on Facebook, enTICE. I also we have a website, enTICEingmedia.com, and that's ENTICEingmedia.com. If you want to keep up with me personally, follow along for speaking engagements or my podcast, you can find me at enTICE.com. We're also on Instagram. We are on YouTube, Kenny and Nell, for the travel vlog. And I'll let Kenny tell you about the drunken squirrel Sandcastle Radio man.
Yeah, so Kenny and Nell, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just searching my name, Kenny and Nell. We're on Facebook, YouTube, obviously, Instagram, Twitter, not as much, but a little bit. The Drunk Squirrel podcast, you can find that anywhere you listen to your podcast. So all the major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, and you can find us Thursday nights live. So far, every single week we've been live on Sandcastle Radio. There's a Sandcastle Radio app on the Google Play Store, in the Apple App Store. You could listen right on sandcastleradio.com, or you can tell Alexa to stream Sandcastle Radio, and every Thursday night you can hear us chatting about travel.
8 p.m. Eastern.
8 p.m. Sorry, yes, 8 p.m. Eastern. So
yes, I've tuned in a couple of times. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So, but like I said, guys, we're so appreciative that you jumped on, took some time out of your day, and came on the show. This was awesome, right?
Well, we were honored to be asked, and we were looking forward to it. So
yeah,
cool. Well,
I'm doing the Millenniyell.
Yes.
Well, anyways, guys, thank you for everybody that jumped on, commented. Make sure if you got some value out of this today, share it with your friends, like it, all that stuff. We're on all the major podcasting platforms. You can check us out on Facebook as well. But anyways, check us out every Friday for another episode of the Millenniyell at 2:00. Guys, we will see you later. Have a great weekend. Have a good one. See you later, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks.